Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Soul Practices YouTube channel. I am Teri Williams, and if you are tuning in for the first time, you know that my mission is to share the insight, wisdom, and work of people from all over the globe whose main purpose in life is to elevate your soul and to share their passion and their soul's work. Today, my guest is Barbara Gail. And somewhere during this whole COVID experience, I connected to the Women's Frame Drumming Group by Miranda. And I don't know I say her name correctly, Rondo. And in there, I connected with this beauty that we see on the screen today, Barbara Gail, whose work is around rhythm, song, and dance, and drumming, and sharing the Tambourine Path. So, with that said, welcome. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you, Teri. Yeah, I am too. And I love your channel, by the way. I really would love for people to explore your channel and the topics that you explore. It's important for these times, and I really resonate with your work. So I look forward to getting to know you better as a person. I enjoyed our personal conversation last week, and also just even professionally as well. And I love that both of our husbands have the same name.
Yeah, isn't that wonderful? And so when we connected last week, I'm here in Michigan, we were in the middle of an ice storm. And last night we had a snowstorm. So every now and then you might hear the thud of the snow melting. And I was actually thinking that it's a beautiful experience and a reminder of the drum of the natural world. So if we hear that thud, it's a confirmation from nature and the spirit realm that we are on the right path with our conversation today. So let's rewind and talk a little bit about how you became so passionate and enamored with not just the drum, but dance and sound, percussion overall.
Wow. Okay.
It's a big question.
Yes. Well, tuning into sound, that big thud of the snow falling from the roof, it reminds me of two things. The blizzard that enveloped us the first time I was with Layne Redmond for a weekend, the author of When the Drummers Were Women.
Wonderful.
Who I look forward to speaking with you about. Yes. And so everyone, look at the two copies. Show yours again, Teri. So mine is the original. You can just see a slight difference in the cover, but it's the exact same book, and it is in its second printing, and I encourage everyone to check it out. We were enveloped in snow, and also that thud of the snow that you mentioned, the first sound, it's the beat. It's what Layne talked about as the just what are my words, if I can collect them, hashtag I'm 61 now, so I've been saying that this week since I celebrated, but that the unstruck sound, it's compacted, and then when we hear that first burst, like any sound, so it draws our attention. It's like a deep listening. If we bring our awareness beyond the chatter in our minds and hear something like a sound outside of snow, thud, then it can really bring us to what you said, the natural rhythms, which I think are what's really going on in these unprecedented, ever-changing, uncertain, and yet truly exciting times that we're living in. So to kind of now circle back to your question, as someone who I've loved dance since I was little, when I got up from the restaurant table with my parents when I was maybe 3 and started to dance, And my parents were like, "What are you doing?" And I could hear the music that was playing over the restaurant. Don't ask me what it was, but and then fast forward to my college years in the Pioneer Valley of Western Massachusetts, where we had 5 colleges to choose from. And I dove into dance big time and studied all sorts of dance technique, including in my summers. So I didn't study dance when I was a kid. And in a way, I was disappointed because I lost out on those years. A lot of the dancers at the college level began when they were young. But then again, Layne Redmond picked up the drum when she was 28.
Yeah.
And look where she took it to become a worldwide phenomenon, inspiring people internationally. Her book, by the way, has been translated into multiple languages, and continues to be. So in a way, I'm glad that I had that more free-spirited dancer in me who then discovered dance technique when she was 19 and
Mm-hmm.
dove into it. And then um, in my 20s, in 1991, I came across Gabrielle Roth and her 5 rhythms technique. And I originally went to a workshop by a local woman who was a protege of Gabrielle's. These were the real early days. And I immediately went to the source. I tend to do that.
Me
I go
too.
to the source. And so then yeah, no matter what it takes to travel, I was living in Maine. I had to drive to New York. I had to fly to California. But I did it over and over and over again because the dance floor of Gabrielle Roth, which is, I have to say, is not exactly what people think of today, unless you actually go to someone who was trained by Gabrielle, and because the 5 rhythms are teachers. And so the teachings behind it are what really moved me.
Mm-hmm.
Aside from the cathartic experience of the dance. But 2 years later, I met Layne Redmond,
Mm.
and they were both offering their programs through an Omega Institute, through the Omega Institute in Rhinebeck, New York. Gabrielle's was in the summer on that campus, which was amazing. And I went with a friend who met up with me from Philadelphia. We did it together. And then Layne's was in the winter, like I said, when we had that blizzard. So it was at a hotel in like northwestern Connecticut or something. And the drum and the dance, to have met the shamaness of the dance and the priestess of the drum,
Mm-hmm.
and to be so inspired by the two of them, and to know at that moment that somehow this is my calling. And Layne and Gabrielle both really connected with me, drew me in, not only in my own psyche and by my own experiences, but also just personally,
Yeah.
just kept reaching out to me and drawing me in.
Mm-hmm.
So I was really blessed to
Yeah.
have that level of recognition. And I just kept showing up
Mm-hmm.
to the dance floor and to the drum workshops. Um,
And now you weave them
I
into your
do.
life on really an international basis because you have some opportunities coming up soon where you're going to be exploring the Tambourine Path out of the country and also online in a new way where
Yeah.
you're able to afford women an opportunity to experience how they can weave those all into their lives as well and to grow exponentially within. That's the way I look at it. I look at
Thank
it
you.
as when we learn these tools, it's a life changing experience for you that radiates out. And your work is just a beautiful opportunity for them, for anyone really, but for women in particular, to experience a bit of that, a bit of your passion and potentially let that passion move their soul.
Wow. Well, thank you. Oh my gosh.
You're welcome.
Well, yeah, I dove into my passion almost 30 years ago and kept studying with various teachers aside from Layne and Gabrielle. And 2.5 years after meeting Layne, I, thanks to the help of my amazing husband, Jeff, we opened a drum and dance studio in our barn in
I
Mount
love
Vernon,
that.
Maine. And that launched an even bigger life path for me, which was to be, I mean, my menu of programs was vast, where I was teaching mommy and me rhythm and movement classes, and I was sharing the 5 rhythm dance practice, and I became a drum circle facilitator and was invited into multiple kinds of populations. I worked with any population of folks of varying abilities, and challenges and ages. I mean, name it, and I've been there to over 400 venues, and I joined bands and was in rehearsals and performing, and I love accompanying musicians with being a multiple world percussionist. And Jeff and I ended up opening a music store that focused on hand drums and percussion from around the world. And much later, after we relocated to where we are now in Southwest Florida, the ukulele kind of took over the scene as well. Both of those, hand drums and percussion and the ukulele all being folkloric instruments that everyone can join in on. So my path, it was full time, and so the fact that now at this chapter in my life to have the opportunity to share is such a gift, when I pretty much thought that I was closing the chapter, and I closed the chapter of pretty much being a djembe teacher. That was a huge part of my work. The artisan residencies at schools, primarily elementary schools, but sometimes preschool, a lot of preschools actually, and training preschool teachers how to use movement and rhythm. If they didn't feel themselves to be very creative, it's something that they could easily do, because obviously people who work with young children are very creative souls to begin with. Universities we went to. So a lot of that, and conferences, teacher conferences. So a lot of that work was really during the peak of my, I don't like using the word career, because it's, it's work was not a 4-letter word for me. I was simply pursuing my passions and answering the phone, and saying yes to everything. And then I'd have to customize a program for whoever it was I was bringing rhythm to. And it was all groups. It was always groups. So my mastery really is in group rhythm and group movement. And so to come onto the online platform as a facilitator, as a guide, as a teacher. I mean, obviously I love to talk. Sagittarius moon, and a lot of seven placements in my 3rd house, including Mercury. So yeah, so just put me in front of a group of people and I'm comfortable. I may lose my train of thought and go into multiple sidelines, because for me, it's all connected.
Yeah.
And so my mind can be very expansive. So to pivot to the online space, of course, I was forced to do that during COVID. I was right in the middle of an 8-week beginner djembe hand drumming series. For those of you who don't know what the djembe is, many people do, but it's the goblet shaped West African drum. Jeff actually made this for me.
Oh, it's beautiful. He made
Thank you.
that?
Yeah, he's been a professional woodworker all of his life.
Oh,
And
that's
yeah, so
beautiful.
thank you. So this is the mama drum is primarily how I made my living, teaching this and using this in my my rhythm-based facilitated programs.
It was definitely a challenge trying to figure out how to move online. Um,
Yes, and with a
with a group.
group, because my
Yeah,
forte isn't just being in front of a screen and teaching you this is what we do now and this is how you do it.
right.
And then there's one person there and I can't hear you and we can't hear each other unless we are one at a time. But how to actually facilitate the group mind, the group
Yes,
energy, the group rhythm, the group sound, the polyrhythm of some people in the group playing one rhythm pattern, while simultaneously others in the circle are playing another rhythm
right,
pattern, sometimes going up to 6 different parts, depending on how advanced the group, including bells and shakers and scrapers and boomers and bangers and dingers and dongers and clingers and clangers. And with children bringing in world hand drums and percussion instruments, 40 of them, 40 different small handheld instruments that are primarily made by indigenous people, but not all of them,
right.
primarily made by what they find in nature. Each instrument unique, each child unique, and for them to learn how to have group sound that is more music making rather than noise making
Right,
without
to have some kind
actually,
of flow and entrainment. They
it
don't
does.
understand that word yet, that there is this sense of entrainment. And when you offer it in an online community, then you have to figure out, okay, how can they hear me? Because it wasn't made for that group balance of being able to have the sound. And like you, I was in the middle of classes online as well and trying to figure out, okay, how do we in this group experience, how do we bring that alone together sense
Yes.
where everybody can still hear the rhythm, feel the rhythm, and be the rhythm, and feel that sense of connectedness, even though they're in the middle of their bedroom, living room, office, backyard, whatever it is, right? And to be able to bring that into an experience that makes everybody feel connected and inclusive.
How
It
to
was
do that.
definitely a challenge.
And I've
Um,
resisted it. I have resisted it,
Yeah, and
to be
yet
honest.
here you are. You figured it out. You have an amazing
Well,
YouTube channel,
I'm still figuring it out
but
thanks
isn't
to
that
the
life,
community. That's
right?
exactly. It's been a real feminine flow of not a linear process of having it all figured out from the get-go, but to say, okay. And when I was asked to um represent the Layne Redmond legacy when she was posthumously inducted
Yeah.
into the Hall of Fame at the Percussive Arts Society's International Convention in person in Indianapolis in November of 2021, which was 11/11, actually. Um,
Wow.
I was so honored by that because we are a worldwide community and I
Yeah.
felt a huge responsibility. And I was like, what, me? And yet to be in a room of 130 people and teach them the tambourine was in the Layne Redmond tradition. I brought in a sense of ritual and connected the strokes of the drum to the elements, the way that Layne taught us, the way that she learned from the Nubian drummer Hamza Al-Din, the late great musician. So I was able to bring that to these symphonic and university level percussionists. So I was so grateful that I actually went online and offered some free tambourine ceremonies,
Mm-hmm.
ritual, because Layne's work was all about ritual drumming
Yeah.
in the beginning. And it was all about the tambourine at first. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to talk more about that in a minute, because that's really what is lighting me up and what is bringing me back. However, that opportunity to bring some online, some women together from around the world online, who I was grateful that they showed up, and the feedback that I got, like from my dear friend, who I know from the days when we were studying with Layne in the 6-month training that Layne called giving birth to ourselves, because Layne's work was all about our own personal transformation. Her work was seriously transformative. She attended probably my first tambourine ceremony. It was like October of 2021 to bring everyone together before Layne was inducted.
Mm,
And
beautiful. What
so
an honor.
I don't remember. Yeah, it really was. So we had this online experience, and she had said to me on the phone a while later, "Why did you have us turn to the left with our tambourines to process around the circle? Because Layne always had us process around the circle to the right." And I was like, "Well, yeah, you have to turn to the left in order to process around the circle to the right." And I realized everyone turned to the left and then kept going around their left shoulder and processing counterclockwise. And I didn't know that because we're on Zoom. And
Right.
yet, as a group facilitator, I always get my cue from the group, but so does the group, because as soon as, if you imagine, we are all in a circle, okay? Here's me, and wherever you are in this circle. And if you turned to the left and started following the person in front of you, you're immediately going clockwise.
Right.
It doesn't have to be said. It just
Right.
happens. So the thought process that hurts my brain around doing this online, and why I'm so grateful that women are still interested and wanting to connect in this way, no matter what, and raise these questions and figure out how we can still connect online. I did 8 in-person 3-hour, sometimes 3.5-hour workshops this past year
Mm-hmm.
between Florida and New Hampshire. And to be in a group again was such a gift. And we did mask because I was just really wanting people to feel that that was safe. And most of the women who attended these gatherings, for them, it was the first time they gathered
Wow.
in a group,
Yeah.
period. And so
Right.
they were happy to wear masks. I think
Wow.
that is starting to change and loosen up again.
Yeah, it is for a
And
while. Who
yeah,
knows?
again,
Right.
a dip and dive. However, there were so many women who were incredibly lit up by me sharing these kinds of images and talking about Layne's work and giving them an in-person ritual drumming, ritual tambourine experience,
Yeah.
reaching out to me saying, "I want to bring this to my own community.
Yeah.
This is my calling now. How do I integrate this into my work?" And these are women who are already doing amazing things in their communities. They are artists, sound healers, dancers, ministers, group leaders, drum circle facilitators, yoga teachers. The list goes on what they're doing. And they are wanting to incorporate this as sound, as a healing for an empowerment for women,
Yes.
into their work. They want to integrate it. They want to have some level of mentorship and to connect with other women who are alchemizing their gifts and talents
I think
to
that, I
bring
think,
this to the world.
yeah, and I think also that we are realizing how important it is to reconnect with our ancestral roots, and the drum, the tambourine, the flute, sound in and of itself, dance was an integral part of our ancestral teachings.
Absolutely.
As someone who leads and facilitates drum circles, certainly not to the extent that you do, because I don't have that training. It's just a passion. And
Yeah.
I love to bring women and people together. I've done this for a long time.
Yes.
I am
That's
finding
what
more and
counts.
more.
That's all
Yeah,
that counts.
it really is. But I'm finding more and more that women in particular want to reconnect with their roots, their ancestral roots, before the patriarchy and before religion came into the play. Our ancestors, this is how they lived. They
Yes.
supported their communities. Yes. And they moved. So
Yes.
let me just say, listeners, this is a conversation with Barbara Gail. All of her information will be in the description below on the YouTube page, and her links will kind of flash along the bottom here as we go along. You'll see them here and at the top and below. And Barbara, I really want to circle back because we are kind of on a time crunch. I
Yeah,
want to
that's
circle
true.
back to your work. It's so wonderful, and it must have been humbling and honoring for you to get that recognition from the women that you, um, I don't necessarily like the word saw as your gurus, but they mentored you. They were your life learning, and they were the way that elevated your soul and your passion. Let's talk about you and
Yeah.
the tambourine and
Okay.
where you're going to be moving over the course of the next few months, because I know that you have a class coming up for women, and I have over the past few months watched some of your videos. I
Thank you.
love
Thank you.
I love what you do with the tambourine.
Thank you.
And
And I'll demonstrate that for sure.
I would love that.
Yes. So my work at this point isn't just about playing the tambourine. I'll pick one up right now. In fact, the one that I play the most, pardon me for turning my back,
Oh, that's okay. You have
is,
beautiful hair and the blue looks great.
oh my gosh, thank you.
You're
So
welcome.
the tambourine, let me turn original sound on a little bit so that it'll sound a little
Great.
better, I think. And I'll stand up. I have to play this standing up. So here's where the movement comes in, folks. Sorry for the microphones being there too, but so to stand up and step with the drum, this is what Layne taught us. It's a processional instrument where we move in a procession. Yes, and even those of us who play, we miss the drum every now and then. Did you see that? Whoop, miss. This to me is really lighting me up because of Layne's work and because of its ancestral roots. This is a Sumerian artifact from 2000 BCE, before the Common Era. And
Right.
all of these
Before
images,
everything.
pardon me?
I said before the patriarchal and religious, when our cultures were so connected within their communities.
Women were singing and drumming to the goddess. This is the goddess Cybele,
Mm-hmm.
the muses, the oracles, the drum, the song, the dance, a priestess with her tambourine. So yes, this was a connection to rhythm, a connection to the earth. These were earth mother goddesses of early days. And so for women to, sorry for all the adjustment, to connect, one of my YouTube videos is The Ancient Ones, a poem by
I
Patricia
love it. It's
Rice.
beautiful.
Thank you. And honestly, this is also what lights me up. The Layne Redmond legacy and the responsibility that I feel to the women who are hearing the call, more than ever are women flocking to the frame drum, as well as the frame drum that has jingles.
Yeah.
The Ancient Ones, which says, "We say the time of waiting is over. We say the silence has been broken." Yeah?
We can't hear your drum.
Oh, you can't. I
No.
thought I turned it back on. There we go.
There
Thank
we
you.
go.
We say the time of waiting is over. We say the silence has been broken. We say there can be no forgetting now. We say, listen, listen. We are the bones of your grandmother's grandmothers. We have returned now. I mean, honestly, I stopped playing because I have to show. We have returned now. Mm-hmm. We say, you cannot forget us now. We say, we are with you and that you are us. Remember. Remember. This is what women are remembering. We are returning to the natural rhythms. We're returning to nature as our best medicine. Returning to the drum, no matter what your background or training or lack thereof. Women are hearing the call.
Yeah.
And I feel a huge responsibility at this point in time, being that the feminine energies are on the rise on the planet, being that Layne Redmond and her work is really lit up right now. More and more women are discovering her book. What's going to happen to these images that come from the Layne Redmond collection?
Yeah.
What's going to happen, as time moves forward? How do we inspire the women drummers of the future, however they wish to share the drum and rhythm with their communities, in whatever form? I think it's one of the most important medicines right now.
Mm-hmm.
The women were the first rhythm keepers, following the rhythms of the moon, the sun, and this is also a full moon, and this is a frame drum. The goddess Chabeli, who beats the drum, the pulse of all life, which is the first sound we ever heard when we were growing in our mother's wombs.
Yeah.
The pulse of the blood.
I think of it as the sound of the universe. I remember Christine Stevens sharing a quote from an indigenous Native American culture where the Great Spirit says it's the sound of the universe.
Yes. It's the sacred ohm. It's the
Yes.
buzz of the
Yes.
ohm, which Layne
Absolutely.
also connected to the sound of the bees in the beehive. And I'm wearing my bee
Beehive
pendant
necklace.
today. The drums buzz.
Yeah. So you have a course coming up.
I do.
And before we close, let's talk about what's involved in the course and how people can connect with you if they're interested in taking it.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So, I love to blend the drum, the song, the dance. So we will definitely be drumming, and we'll definitely be incorporating some sacred song chant, I call them, which is not necessarily about how your voice sounds, but how you feel, because simple, repetitive song chants and repetition is the mother of all growth, I think, and learning and being together. So they're repetitive, and we're able to connect to each other, and it immediately invokes a sacred space.
Mm-hmm.
So there will be some of that. If the drum that we'll focus on is the tambourine, with some technique of how to play the strokes of the drum, how they relate to the elements of our world, how to incorporate that into your ceremonies. And there'll be a lot of connecting to the other women, because I think a lot of the women who I'm catering this to, because I was asked to do this, those are the women I have in mind as I create it. However, the women who show up will also help to dictate where this goes. I'm not pre-planning the entire 5-week series, which will meet on Fridays, beginning, March 17th, from 1 to 2 p.m. Eastern time, which changes on March 12th. We spring forward, so everybody has to kind of check that out, because not every time zone around the world will also spring forward by an hour. But I want the women to connect with one another as well, because a lot of them are alone in their pockets geographically and really trying to figure this out. And I think that the community of women can help each other. I think this is what, this is the new paradigm of not having, yes, there are teachers who have skills to share. So we have the pyramid, but when we turn that on its side and it's a circle, there are there's a lot of wisdom in women's circles where we
Yes.
can share and support one another. Some of the women are unable to attend during that time frame. And so I'm thinking of what we may need to do. Again, I was resistant to this, but now I'm opening myself up because we are all opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the heart. So I'm opening up my heart to the possibilities. And so I want to be inclusive. And so I think we may need to start a Facebook group for the women to connect on. It's private just for us. I'm not going to be like sharing all kinds of memes and somewhat related stuff. This is where we can connect with each other and where we can support each other, ask questions, and everyone can be involved just for the women in the class. I know another Facebook group, ugh, but I think that this might be an important step for this class. And they can find me. What's the best way to find me? Well, they can start out by going to my website, barbaragail.com. And I'm sure that'll be somewhere here. Thank you,
It's
Teri.
below. It's
Thank
on the
you.
side.
If you go to it's a website that I developed a handful of years ago that really needs to be changed because I was doing so many things back then that I'm not doing now. And so it's not focused as much on women, rhythm, and ritual or the tambourine path, but they are both there under ceremonies, under groups, and certainly under the calendar. But most importantly, if you want to reach out to me, if you go to the contact page, there are two things you can do that will be so helpful to me. Number one, click on the blue button that says something like sign up for my newsletters and fill out the fields. I'm on a new newsletter platform. I'm still figuring out deliverability. So hopefully you'll receive some emails from me, which I don't send out often, only when I have something upcoming, because I'm kind of over that too. I think we're all overwhelmed with emails. But it's a way that I can broadcast. Here's what's upcoming if you're interested. And then also there is a way that they can email me to fill out those fields if you want to email me directly. And then once you receive my reply email, I think there's a reply email that actually even will have another way of reaching out to me. So I'll see your email and I can reply. And I'm on Facebook every night, checking my notifications, and I check my messages on Messenger. So if you find me on Facebook, reach out that way. I did create a Facebook event page, Women, Rhythm, and Ritual, the Tambourine Path, the 5-week series. So if you go there, feel free to join that and set your notifications for all the updates, because that does not have all the information there yet. And I am putting the word out for if there's a woman who is really lit up about this and yet is not in a financial situation that she feels comfortable with, but she really, really wants to do it. So I'm opening up to the possibility of a partial or even full scholarship. And I'm even accepting donations toward that in case there are more than one women. There are more than one women. I almost said rhythm. If there's more than one rhythm, if there's more than one woman who really is seeking that and can have a chat with me about why she thinks that this is an important piece in her life
Yeah.
and in her work, in her path. So I think I said everything that I could
I
possibly
think you
say.
did.
And the
And I
YouTube
really want to
channel.
commend you because we are
Thank
a
you.
work in progress. So I
Yeah.
love that you are adjusting and
Mm.
um, you used the word pivoting, which, like it is what it is, are not my two. They've become so the new normal. Those are the phrase catchphrases of the last 3 years. But
Yes.
we are works in progress, and your work supports the women that are a work in progress. That's what
Right.
we all are, and
It's
we
what
need
we all are.
community.
Yeah, and
thank
this
you
is for
so much.
beginnings. This is very beginner-ish friendly, but not a raw beginner. So women who are interested will at least need to go to my YouTube channel and get a tambourine, the kind with the double row of jingles. I have videos that talk about the tambourine and how to choose one, and then I have about 8 videos perhaps on the basic, and they're not long videos. I've chunked them down on the
Yeah, which I
basic.
thought was wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're
So
welcome. So on that note, let's thank you so much for being with me today. I have loved
thank
this,
you.
and let's just give a little jingle for you and everyone listening.
Thank
And
you.
you can find all of Barbara's information at barbaragail.com. And of course, hit the subscribe button below for more.